Hello and welcome. I'm really excited to share with you today about this eclipse chart that we're looking at. So, we have a very exciting and eventful eclipse season coming up, and I want to cover first some of the basics. So, I did create a slideshow for this, and after today, actually right after we get done here, I can send you the slideshow if you want to look at it. It's really handy. It's actually part of my calendar for 2022. It's kind of embarrassing because I named it the Cosmic Calendar for 2022, and there's another school that used that same name, but I guess it's not too unique. Anyway, I did create something for 2022, and this video is going to be part of that, which comes with a really nice slideshow that I created where you can go through. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. So you can go through the slideshow, and it covers the major events of 2022. It's so much stuff. So the video course goes through these things one by one, and today here we are on the eclipses. So what I'm first going to do is I'll read a little bit from this slide. So what we have here is the dates for the eclipses of 2022. Then we have Eclipse Basics, and that's what I want to start with, because let me make sure y'all can hear me before I start saying too much stuff. Let me know in the chat box. Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. All right, you can see those pretty lilies back there. Ooh. All right, so I'm going to just imagine that you all can hear me until I hear back from somebody in here. All right, so this first eclipse that we're having, the date didn't come through here, but anyway, it's on here. It's a solar eclipse. That means new moon. So anytime we have a new moon, that's a solar eclipse. It used to be really confusing for me for a very long time, because things that are very obvious, but it's like 50-50, it's either one or the other. I have to, breathing in spirit. Oh, I love that name. Oh, hello, Ayano. Thank you guys. Let me know too if it's choppy, because what I have been doing is recording from the room that is really close to my box, to my Wi-Fi box. And I think that makes it less choppy. And when I'm in this room, I feel like the connection sometimes gets dropped, or it's a little bit of a lag. So let me know if it's problematic. I can always move. Okay, so keep me informed over there in the chat box. So back to the eclipses. The solar eclipse is going to be a new moon, and the lunar eclipse is going to be a full moon. So some of the things we have: eclipses are always a lunation cycle on or very close to the lunar nodal axis, the north and the south node. So the lunar nodal axis is the south node being the past, having to do with karmic patterning, conditioning. It's a set of instructions that we're all kind of coded with through our human conditioning. The north node is going to be it's like the trajectory. So the south being where we've been, the north being where we're going. It is what is possible. So it's like that infinite possibilities, that open-ended opportunities where there's this vast field of possibilities that we are able to tune into any one of them. So let's see. Solar eclipses are always a new moon. I already said that. Lunar eclipse is always a full moon. Either a solar or a lunar eclipse can be paired with either the south or the north node. So this is always the first thing. Yes, the first thing you want to check. Is this eclipse happening on the north node or on the south node? Of course, when we have the full moon, it's going there's going to be both of the ends are going to be completely activated, but depending on, you know, if the north node is going to be like a power surge. It's like an increase of energy. If it's near the south node, it's going to be a recession, or what I call the power outage. That's going to be pulling energy back. We may feel drained. We may feel tired. And one more of these eclipse basics for you. I have a whole bunch of them on there, but I'm just reading you a few highlights, because anytime we're getting started, it's like, what are the basics of what's happening? And then we can fine tune the energy by looking at the signs and the planets that are nearby and where that's happening for you. When the eclipse is on the south node, there is a power outage. Okay, I already said that. When the eclipse is on the north node, there is a power surge. Okay, perfect. So for this eclipse, this is happening on the 30th. There's so many things leading up to the 30th. One thing that I want to mention leading up into this eclipse, let me just make sure. 30th is the eclipse. Okay. Is that Venus is going to be having a conjunction with not close to Neptune and Jupiter. So that's happening on the 27th of April. And I believe it's the 27th also that Mercury will begin the shadow. The shadow phase means this is showing us the point that Mercury retrograde will start. So having Mercury going into that shadow phase, it's kind of like, because Mercury will go retrograde in Gemini. So the beginning of the shadow phase is kind of like us getting an opportunity to see what content is going to be coming up for us during the Mercury retrograde. Mercury will go into Gemini, and then it's just rapid, lots of information. Mercury and Gemini have a symbiotic relationship because they are so much alike each other. And when Mercury goes into Gemini, we often have a massive influx of information coming in, likely things from the past that we need to bring forward to integrate. Mercury will go back into Taurus, where I like Mercury to be, because Mercury in Taurus has more of an in the body way of knowing things. When Mercury is in Gemini, it is very much in the head. It is very much that realm of zeros and ones and information coming in. And sometimes it's so much information coming in that it's hard, it's challenging to make it make sense in a way that is practical. So when Mercury goes back through that retrograde back into that degree point, which I want to say was 27 degrees, 27 or 28 degrees of Taurus, this is going to be an opportunity for us to really bring it back into the body, to have an embodied experience of what we have perceived, what our cognition is showing us, and then having it get all the way down into the body with Taurus. So those are some things happening leading up into this first eclipse. So the chart that I have here is actually for that first eclipse. So you can see all this action happening there. And it's at 10 degrees of Taurus. So there's something really amazing happening at this new moon in Taurus, which is Uranus is going to be there 4 degrees away or 4 degrees close. Sun and moon at 10, Uranus is at 14. So starting off, and we also can see that the North Node is within 12 degrees. So it's not, so see what happens is that the North or the South Node will be involved in the eclipse, and it'll either be super close when it's super close to the nodal axis. I feel like this is like a really supercharged eclipse. There might be a lot more intensity with that. And then at this eclipse on the 30th, we're about 12 degrees orb. So we have about 12 degrees separation between the sun and moon and the North Node. It is still an eclipse though. So just because that, orb is bigger, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be less intense. There's still an intensity to it. And we're going to talk about that because Scorpio is involved. Whatever Scorpio, like if you think, okay, Scorpio, you can just instantly think emotional intensity. So here's the South Node in Scorpio at 22, which is always going to be directly opposite the North. Okay, so because the sun and moon are going to be near the North Node, that tells us that this eclipse has a surge of energy, that there is a power surge. You guys let me know in the chat box if you know where your, like, what do you have in Taurus, especially around that 10-degree mark? Because whatever you have on your chart, this is going to be showing you where you are having an influx of energy, where there is a power surge happening in your reality, or like how that will impact you. What house is it in? Is it touching your natal Chiron? Is it touching your natal Venus? Okay, so imagine that this eclipse near the North Node is in the, oh, hey, you're here. Nice to see you, Jen. Chiron is at 9. Okay, so Chiron, that's very close. So this eclipse is going to be, it's so amazing that I said Chiron, and that's like exactly what yours is. This eclipse is a power surge. There is, I'm just looking down here at this chart and channeling that information through, like, power surge impacting your natal Chiron. So this is like an increase of energy around those topics of the alchemist, the way that you are the teacher of all the life sciences, the art of war, the art of healing, the art of prophecy, the art of astrology. Chiron is the alchemist that goes through becoming the master of everything that it takes to be this human wonderfulness that we are. Oh, it's in your 10th house too. Okay. So I imagine the 10th house is probably where your midheaven is, the contribution to the world, midheaven. So the 10th house has to do with your career. It has to do with how people who don't know you very well, how they see you. And having Chiron there, it's kind of like they probably possibly see you in, as becoming your medicine, your mastery of, and it's in Taurus, so of the body, of the earth keepers, and the way that we tend to the earth through tending our body. When our body is well and healthy, we are more capable of tending the earth. There's that beauty and simplicity of Taurus that has to do with being sustainable, being grounded, being supported, and being your own support. And then when you have Chiron there in Taurus, it's also a woundedness or a fear or an insecurity around resources, resourcing myself as my resource. And so the body becomes the resource and the pathway for building more resources. So through tending the earth, through tending our body, then that magic of Chiron is bringing all this beautiful sensuality. So like in a time when we become our medicine with Chiron, you know, I'm talking just specifically to you having that Chiron in Taurus, that all of the wounds and hurts and insecurities ultimately become the medicine, and that sensual experience that we can have, which is Taurus. Taurus is the realm of sensuality. Breathing in spirit. Anything else I want to say about that? Okay, so even if your Chiron wasn't right there in the mix of this new moon happening, which it is, so it's saying that you are getting a surge of energy on the way that you are your own medicine. So the new moon there also, it kind of feels like you really coming into your own in a way, realizing that you are the resources, that your sense of pleasure and luxury and joy is the money. That is, you know, that's like when we are just so full of our own abundance and beauty and pleasure, that we walk into a space and the whole place is richer because we are there, because we're bringing that pleasure. And then having it in the 10th house, it's going, you know, impacting your career. And yeah, so I'll leave you alone on that now. Okay, so let's see. I saw another person here, breathing in spirit, said within 5 degrees of my DC. Ooh, I really am looking forward to talking about the descendant and the ascendant, because that's where it is for me too. So I'm excited about that also, because the whole polarity between Taurus and Scorpio. Let me say that. I want to talk about that polarity between Taurus and Scorpio. So yes, the new moon is in Taurus. And you said, so this person said within 5 degrees of my descendant. So you must also be Taurus rising. And it's in with 5. Okay, so this is likely impacting your relationship. So something that I've been looking at, because this is also it's also on my 1st and 7th house, looking at the karmic patterning that we have in relationships. And I'm saying karmic patterning specifically because of Scorpio, the South Node in Scorpio. And I'm just adding in the relationship thing because I'm talking about the 1st and 7th house. But like for Jen, Earth Guardian Academy, it was going through she said the 10th, so it'd be the 10th and the 4th, which would be working that polarity, 10th house being Taurus. And that is, how can we make this more simple, more pleasurable, more in the body, my body, the earth, not seeing a separation between earth and body, but recognizing that this soil around my body is like feng shui. It is my body. It is the energy that I am in. What do you say? When we are given this body, it's like lended energy. Whatever the soil is around your house or around where you live, even if you're just out for the day, you are being lended that energy of the earth. And there is an ability to respond, or a responsibility to that land, to that soil, to those plants, just the same way there is an ability to respond to our physical body. These are all Taurus concepts. So then for that 10th house Taurus, that means the 4th house is going to be Scorpio. And this area isn't really getting much play for this new moon, except for the fact that in 2 more weeks, we'll have a full moon, which will be bringing in more of that Scorpio energy. And I think I want to talk about that next week, or maybe, some other time, because I don't want to get too far away from where we are with this upcoming eclipse. And so if this eclipse is within 5 degrees of your descendant, that means that there will be some changing in your relationships. So back to this karmic patterning thing. So because it is Scorpio has to do with that, and also because the South Node is there. So this is for everybody. South Node, Scorpio, wherever that's happening in your chart, the South Node is a recession, a pullback, a power outage. And because it is Scorpio, it's pulling back ways that we have manipulated, dominated, ways that we have misappropriated energy, especially energy in the forms of getting mine. That means whatever that is, your money, your pleasure, your intimacy, your relationships with other people, other people's money. Scorpio is famous for other people's money, which is either through marriage or through your inheritance. So with that happening for Breathing in Spirit said that on the descendant, there will be a recession of things. That means things going away. And even for Jen, who mentioned, the 4th house, there will be a recession of things going away wherever the South Node is. And this is eclipse season. That means that as we're going through this first new moon, there is an influx, a surge of energy in that particular house, wherever Taurus is for you. Then 2 weeks later, there will be a recession, a taking away of things in Taurus, whatever house that is for you. So a taking away of things. Now, let me remind you that these are very self-interested signs. Taurus and Scorpio are both what we call the fixed, what I like to call Vishnu, which is has to do with maintenance. So we have creation, we have stasis or maintenance, and then we have dissolution. This is Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Brahma, the creative god, Vishnu, the one that maintains the balance, and then we have Shiva, which is the dissolution or the destruction of a thing, which that's the mutable signs. So what we're looking at here, Ayana, okay, I'll get to that in just a second. So what we have here is, sorry, I just went to your chart and I was looking, I was like, Chiron, the 11th house? That's Taurus? I didn't think you had Chiron, but maybe you do. Okay. All right. So anyway, Taurus and Scorpio are those maintenance. They are the ones that hold the structure. It's a stability sign. They're both stability signs, what we call the fixed signs. And so with this eclipse season going through these fixed signs, and this is going to be going on all year. We have the eclipse season now, which will be new moon and full moon, April and May. Then we'll be chill for a while, and then we'll have the eclipse season of the fall, winter time, which will still be working this axis because the South and North Node are going to be here for 18 months from January 2022. Okay, so did I cover everything I wanted to cover about? This is what I wanted to say about that whole thing about the fixed signs. Taurus is interested in the self and how much pleasure can I have, how much deliciousness can I have, how much ease and grace and laying in my bed naked, doing God knows what, but being very relaxed and comfortable. There's no rush. There's no hurry. This is why I love Mercury to be in Taurus. Did you see that? Mercury in Taurus. It gets to be like this honey molasses sweetness of our communication and sensual information, because yes, I did scoot away from talking about the fixed signs of Taurus and Scorpio, just to bring back awareness to Mercury being in Taurus, giving us this slow, steady pleasure of the way that we receive and give out information. That's what Mercury is about. Mercury for me is Jehuti, Tehuti, Thoth. It is that scribe of Kemetic ancient Egypt who holds all the knowledge of all times and places. That's Mercury for me. And so Mercury going through this sign brings the information through the cells, through your fingertips, because your senses get really involved in this form of communication. So if you imagine, there's a Tantra yoga practice actually where you would eat something, put something in your mouth, and then you just do gathering information through the way it feels, the way it smells, and the way it feels on your tongue. Is it melting? What does it taste like? What areas of your tongue are activated? And not thinking about it. So we're not creating a story about what the senses are perceiving. We get into so much problems when we're having a sensual experience and then we need to narrate it. So if I put something in my mouth, like, oh, chocolate reminds me of blah, blah, blah. And I start telling a story about the chocolate. Now I'm no longer really in the experience of chocolate. So there was a word I was trying to think of, bhavana. Bhavana it's like when you become the thing you're experiencing. I have this phrase that my son Kailash runs around saying all the time. He's like, don't chase what you love, become it. This is Mercury right now in Taurus, that we have a moment of becoming the information that we're receiving, to the point of not needing to dictate or translate it. We just dissolve into the experience of the information that we're receiving. And this is how basically we let our senses be fed with the information, chocolate flavored awareness, or whatever the thing is for you. All right, so Taurus is interested in learning about pleasure, sensuality. It is getting really interested in the self. Scorpio, on the other hand, is really interested in the emotions, the intensity of energy created when stuff gets real. So this is where, you're sitting across from somebody. So many of the Tantra yoga practices come from this energy between the tension between Taurus and Scorpio. Taurus being life, fertility, abundance, the springtime when all the plants are giving flowers and beautiful smells and starting to produce their fruit. And then Scorpio, death, the autumn time, the dark, going into that end phase, that tension between life and death. Okay, so looking at this, the thing I must tell you is that this eclipse season could be bringing us to our knees in the sense of not wanting to let go, not ready to let go, because these two signs are maintenance, they are stasis, they are holding a stability. So we all have things that we don't want to let go of because they're pleasurable, they're comfortable, they are bringing us emotional fluctuations, and it's not just joy and happiness, and it's not just depth and intensity of raggedness, which Scorpio can, Scorpio really can bring that whole spectrum. So what I feel about this eclipse is that we are going to have to play with that tension of opposites between life and death, and notice where we are stubbornly holding things that it may be time to let them go. And it doesn't have to be because of getting pissed off. Like, we can make changes just because we've outgrown a thing, or because we see a better possibility. It doesn't have to be making changes by getting mad. I don't know if you guys have ever had this experience. Like I mentioned previously, I do have Taurus rising, meaning that Scorpio is my descendant. For the longest time in my earlier life, we would have to fight. There has to be some, like, and not just a little fight, like a pretty big fight, so that I could do something else or break up or get my way or whatever. But now it's like, hey, guess what? We don't actually have to go through the drama. We can just talk about it and make the change. But you might not be able to do that, and you might have to go through the whole kicking and screaming and have things torn away from you. I'm smiling, and this isn't really funny because I feel like there is there seems to be, because Uranus is 4 degrees away from this new moon, that there will be sudden loss. And okay, also because it's on the North Node, this first eclipse on the 30th could be, yes, I still feel the loss. For some reason, there's something that's going to be moved out of the way. And it has a lot to do with our financial markets, like our, like even just the ability to step up to inflation. So yes, the North Node is a surge of energy. There is more coming, and it's being so close to Uranus, which says that there will be radical changes that are unexpected, that we cannot predict, unpredictable changes. And let me see, let's look at these in the sense of, that's at 10. Mars is going to be at a sextile. You can see here, there's Mars. I don't know if you can really see that so good. That's Mars, and Mars is at 11. So that's going to be making a 60 degree, which is known as a sextile, which is a supportive energy. There's a lot of, there's a lot of supportive energy around this new moon. There's also Uranus there. So Uranus wants radical change for freedom, which to me, I feel like freedom with Uranus, it does have a sense of taking things away that have been giving us stability. And it's so weird because Taurus is a sign of stability, but Uranus breaks stability up, because stability over a long amount of time does become a sort of a prison. And I say that with a little, like, kind of a prison, just because there's an expectation around that stability of always being there. It's the place where joy and pleasure and inspiration become an expectation. So anytime we have Uranus involved, that expectation gets shaken. It's like an earthquake. There could be an actual earthquake too. Just to keep that in mind. There could be an actual groundbreaking that happens. I don't know what that groundbreaking is going to be, but I'm imagining that it's going to have something to do with our earth, our resources, and then just depending on what house this is, it will impact you differently in that way. I feel pretty complete with this, actually. So let me answer this. Chiron in the 11th. My Uranus is in Scorpio. Look forward to that workshop on the full moon. Yes, I think I'll do this before the full moon. I kind of want to do it today, but I'm not. I'll probably maybe tomorrow. So the cosmic, I hate saying cosmic calendar now, because somebody else actually used that for their course, and they did it after me, but they're way more like famous than me. So I do have that. Oh, you bought that. You have that cosmic calendar. So the slideshow will be updated. I'm going to get the second part of the eclipse information in there this week. And then that way we're like prepared. Going into eclipse season prepared is always better. Let's go ahead now and look at Chiron in the 11th. So Ayana was saying that the Taurus new moon happening at 10 degrees of Taurus, at Taurus, is on your natal Chiron. So, oh wow, Jen, that's amazing. You and Ayano both have Chiron very close to each other. So you guys are both mahalo. That's okay. Anyway, you guys have that close. Chiron in the 11th. So having Taurus in the 11th during this new moon says that there will be new influx of energy in your dreams and aspirations. So you also 11th house, dreams and aspirations, is also the people who support your dreams and aspirations. I always think of the 11th house as like there's an astrology conference coming up on the 28th. I really want to go. I love all the astrologers who are presenting. There's going to be Gemini Brett, Rick Levine, Stormy Grace, a bunch of astrologers who I want to see. So going to that conference would be my 11th house. It's not just my dreams and aspirations. It's the community of people who share similar dreams and aspirations. So the 11th house having this Taurus new moon with that eclipse. Did you see what I almost did? Oh, yeah, it is a solar eclipse. Okay. That there is this influx, a power surge of new people who share the same dreams and aspirations as you. This new moon can also be new opportunities for you in your community, in your group, the people who have a like mind as you. And then Chiron. Is your Chiron really in Taurus? In the 11th house. So that's Chiron is the fracture point. Wherever that is for you, Chiron is your fracture. And as you know, when you are fractured, our body builds up extra matrix to support the fracture point. So this is where we are extra skilled. We get extra skills to make up for the fracture point. We have to work extra hard where Chiron is, but this is also where our human mastery comes through. So there is pain, there is abandonment, loss, betrayal, Chiron words, in community, in the 11th house, feeling like you're the outsider, you're too whatever or not enough whatever. There's like a sense of lack where Chiron is, which makes us have to learn extra skills, try extra hard to be better, to survive and thrive wherever Chiron is. So putting that in the 11th house and having this new moon, I also want to remind us all that a new moon, while there is the North Node and it's a surge of energy, I must remind us all. This is why it's coming up as a conflict in my mind when I start talking about a surge, because that North Node is there, but I'm also like, yeah, but also Uranus is there to shake things up and bring radical revolutionary level changes. And it's the new moon. The new moon is the bleeding phase of our fertility cycle. If you are doing that still with your womb in your body, that this is where we're bleeding. We're releasing the previous cycle, making space for a new cycle. So with this eclipse in Taurus, it could be also very embodied, like releasing everything, making space for all these new opportunities. And we may not know what those new opportunities are for maybe 2 days after the new moon. So I kind of like to remind us to don't set the intentions on the new moon, like right on the solar eclipse. Be in your body, let yourself do that releasing of the previous cycle, that menstruation of your previous cycle, things that didn't work, things you tried that didn't go through. Let that go. Let that, like soften your grip so you're not holding so stubbornly, which is a Taurian thing to do anyway. Soften that, allow things to leave. Maybe you use your own two hands to carry them out of your house. And give it a minute before you start setting your intentions. Like when you see that first little crescent moon in the sky, which would be filling your right hand, you see that, and then you're like, okay, now it's time to set the intentions, write it down, put it on the altar, whatever it is you're going to do. Okay, well, I feel pretty complete and I've answered all the questions. So if anybody wants to say anything else, you can do that in the chat box. I just want to say thank you all so much for coming. I will do another video shortly. This will go up into the cosmic calendar, and there's updates now. So if you already got the cosmic calendar, there's updates to the slideshow, and there will be more updates coming up soon. So thank you all so much. I love and appreciate you all, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.